you for being with us here today for the annual general meeting of 4-H Alberta. My name is Christine Swamanen and I am the chair of the 4-H Alberta Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to call this meeting to order at 10:35. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. And to begin our meeting, we're going to start with the 4-H pledge led by Auckland.
I pledge my head to liberty, my heart to great loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
Good job, everybody. Skill testing question. Do we know the pledge? We passed. On to the next thing. So we appreciate everyone taking the time to be with us today to get through the information and business that is set out in front of us. So an annual general meeting is a mandatory part of a nonprofit organization that must be completed within 6 months following the fiscal year end. This is essentially a business meeting that requires us to cover 5 main items: approval of last year's minutes, approval and review of the audited financial statements, appointment of an auditor for the 2024 fiscal year, election of directors, review and approval of any bylaw amendments. Those are the boxes we are required to check for today. The intent is to have continuing conversations with the regions and community outside of the AGM throughout the year. Those discussions occur in such venues as the regional chair discussions and regional gatherings, both of which occurred over the past year, and we will certainly continue in months ahead. We also have engaged with the community at numerous events throughout the province seeking your feedback. We very much look forward to more of those positive and constructive conversations in the near future. For today, we are gathered to cover the annual business activities of the organization, and we encourage any questions you may have on the information we are presenting today. So we'll get started. So the materials for this meeting were sent out to the voting members electronically as watermarked documents. These materials, after being approved and accepted, will be posted on the 4-H Alberta website. Any motions that will, please note that motions will appear on your screen throughout the meeting. I would also ask that if you are making or seconding a motion, you state your full name so that it is clear for Teresa. She's our recording secretary today. These motions can be adjusted as needed. The draft version presented is to help with ease of meeting flow. And any voting member can make a motion or second a motion. So regional voting members, please step up as you feel needed.
And we have one question in the chat, is whether executives can speak or only ask questions in chat.
They should be. In the past, they've been able to speak, but I don't know if our Zoom is set up for that right now.
So we'll say ask, write it in chat.
Chat is a safe bet.
Okay. All right.
Okay. With that, housekeeping. So voting will be the same as last year. We will motions will prompt an email to be sent to your inbox, your email inbox. From there, the instructions will be pretty straightforward as to how to proceed. Those who hold a proxy vote will be required to open a separate email to place that proxy vote, but then follow the same process. When we will get to our first vote, we will make sure to go through it slowly to ensure everyone is getting their vote to work. I will call when the voting is closed so that results can be announced in a reasonable time frame. So other householding, we met Katie in person a little bit earlier. Katie Eklund is from Logistics Academy. to technically support and help our meeting go smoothly. On Zoom, her name is Programs Team 4-H Alberta. And then we also ask for anyone on Zoom to change their name to their name and region to help us communicate with one another more smoothly. Anyone in attendance, please make sure your phones are on mute as well so that we can have less distractions. And as I mentioned earlier, internet, if anyone's having bandwidth issues, please let us know. And a warm welcome to everyone again for being here. So next we have our bylaws of who the voting members are. And then we also have community members joining via Facebook Live. The definition of the voting members are as follows. So general membership in the corporation shall be available to persons interested in furthering the corporation's purposes. Such members shall include youth participants, volunteers, alumnus, parents, and leaders. General members shall not be entitled to vote at any meetings of the members of the corporations. Voting members shall be existing directors of the corporation, those members which are elected by each of the area or regional assemblies to serve and represent their area or regional assemblies as their executive committee, and which shall comprise no more than 4 whose names and contact information has been duly provided and recorded in the voting membership register of the corporation. Any questions on that? Okay. Any questions on that?
See, no.
So first, I'd like to introduce our board of directors for 4-H Alberta that have worked very hard over the past year. If you can give a wave when I introduce you. Saida Karam, Diversity Director, Vice Chair and Chair of the People and Resources Committee. Janice Wersta, Area Director, Northeast Treasurer and Chair of Audit and Finance. Nora Polovich.
She is online,
She is, yeah. And then Amanda Hardman, Youth Director and Chair of Strategic Growth. Andrea Hansen, Area Director for Calgary and South. Scott Bodie, joining right now, Diversity Director and Chair of Governance and Nominating. Kathleen Linder, Director of Northwest and Chair of Community Engagement. Simone Demers Collins, Diversity Director and Chair of the Development Committee. April Aspiden, Diversity Director. Austin Andrew, Area Director, East and West Central Regions. Andy Pittman, ex officio, past chair. Carmen Andrew cannot join us today, but she is our Government of Alberta representative. And Kurt Kinnear, ex officio, CEO. Thank you everyone for joining us. And so we are just going to check that we have quorum. So we have 13 in person. And all members online should now have the ability to speak on Zoom as well. Would someone like to try that, like Nora or Andrea?
Oh, this is going great.
Okay. That we will go on to the first order of business. So we've already done some of that business, which is great. So the agenda is as follows. We'll have a chair report regarding the past year's activities. You'll hear from the CEO, Kurt, on operational accomplishments over the past year. Janice Worsta will provide an introductory report, followed by our CFO. Candace McKay will provide audit details, and we will move to accept the 2023 financials. The Governance and Nominations Chair, Scott Bodie, will provide an update on some amendments to the bylaws for approval, and Scott will also present the slate of nominees for the vacancies on the 4-H Alberta board. Then we'll look ahead to 2024. So on the screen, you can see there was an amendment to the original agenda circulated, which is just some numbering on below election of board of directors. We changed the order compared to last year, so 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3 should be 10.1, 10.2. So with that, we will, and then at the bottom on the agenda, we have questions and answers. There was no questions submitted through the online registration, so we'll save a question and answer period. Once there's the adjournment of the business meeting, we'll have a discussion with those in person and those online after the adjournment, if there's any questions there. But you can feel free to ask any questions related to the business that we're covering today. So, can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the revisions proposed?
Simon Tourist Collins, I so move.
Excellent, thank you, Simon. And can I have a seconder? Saida. Is there any further discussion? Okay, and so now we get to practice the voting. You. Looks like you might have done voting.
Get an email.
Not yet?
No.
Okay. Through till you got
I'm
a,
going to submit.
Yeah,
okay,
it'll tell you you've been successful.
You go to a blue screen that says something about,
Yeah, it says.
am I, well, I did my selection. Yeah, now you have to hit submit. Oh, maybe I'm the nasty person.
sorry.
Sorry to over,
Okay.
look, Mary.
Come on, success, thank you, your vote has been cast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Down
That's
below.
what it says, yeah.
Put close there and then you put, there you go. Well, I did vote. Well, I think it's for the next one.
Did you actually just submit one?
Yes, you just did.
Okay, so then we're gonna be good.
Next. It's not like that, it's like. Yeah, good, yeah. Like in here.
I think we should be able to close.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at 21 now.
We're good on.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, you got the answer.
Motion
There we
carried.
go. Oh my goodness.
Okay, thank you everyone for your patience. Now let's see if we can get the other participants switched over.
Okay.
Oh, wow,
Oh, there we go.
look at all these people.
Quarter and a half now, I think.
Nora said that she couldn't speak either, so.
Hello, can I speak now?
Yes.
Awesome,
Okay, great, thank you.
perfect.
This is Kathleen Peltzer as well from the South Region. I can speak as well.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen.
She should be on there too.
Andrea is here as well.
Okay, great. All right, next, we get to it again. For the minutes.
Did you want us to announce that? Do we have to announce anything or just check our emails?
What's that saying? I got them.
I got it too, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
perfect. So then you just.
thumbs up, okay, that's what you want, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so the next item was the AGM minutes for May 27th, 2023. Are there any corrections to the minutes that were presented? If I see any corrections or amendments? Anyone online see any corrections or amendments to the minutes?
But you do have Angela Foster as attending twice under the attendees. It's not the minutes part, but
Okay.
she is listed twice. I wonder if it might be beneficial if you put the region each person represents in the attendees. Is that possible?
Yeah, we could do that. Can add those amendments. With this. Okay. Can I have someone make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Adam Lambert, I make a motion to approve the minutes as.
Thank you. And then can I have a seconder for that motion?
Jason Boris will second that.
Okay, Jason Force, second. And now we will send the email for voting.
So. I think it will. There's optimism right there.
Or that's a minutes.
That, I can. Hey.
Is it gonna be a new email every time?
Yes, it should come in a separate email.
We should start in this service.
Take two.
I gotta vote twice.
Okay, here it is.
It's like a month away. I was like.
I'm past here and my notifications are like. Sad that you can do that.
No, last time was pretty quick. Yeah, it was like 2 minutes, maybe 3, hey Andy?
What's that?
Last year when we did the same
Yeah, it was
system.
pretty quick.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. 2 years ago, and I was there, it was fast too. And
Yeah.
it's such,
I don't know why it's so slow.
You're at the 4-H center last year though.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're now at later this technology. This time.
So the Westminster don't go to the museum, they use technology.
board.
Don't use the museum, rely on technology.
When.
Anyway, steam engine.
Yeah.
Steam engines used to run.
Doesn't Sage come in the door, tell me through the 70s?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Tracks, would that be tracks?
They got powers out back right now running the Wi-Fi.
We got the team making power too in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
I got the results. So good.
All right. Getting faster, right?
That was fast.
What's faster?
Yeah, okay.
Locomotive engine, just gotta take a little bit.
Like an old steam engine, just gotta get heated up.
Okay, excellent. The motion is carried. Thank you everyone for voting. And then next up is chair report.
We don't need motions for your report, so.
Just get to listen.
Yeah.
So 4-H Alberta continues to grow and develop as one organization. The board of directors continues to engage in training and review of committees and their policies. The current committees of the board are executive, audit and finance, governance and nominating, strategic growth, fund development, people and resources, community engagement, and the ad hoc risk register management committees. The committees met over the last 12 months to direct the board towards better governance and strategic direction for 4-H Alberta. One governance practice that we continue to leverage is a board self-assessment completed annually. Using this tool, we prioritized communicating in advance of meetings through circulating reports in advance of the meeting. The board's governance was also explored through a governance training session provided by Reverend Dr. Mark Jerry from Luther College, University of Regina, prior to the March board meeting. In the 2023-24 4-H year, we have had 2 regional gatherings with regional council executive members, one at the 4-H Center and the other virtually. The discussion continued to center around volunteer burnout. In October, we provided survey results of the volunteer workload survey sent to volunteers in July 2023 and discussed some of the themes that emerged from the survey. In January, we highlighted the successes 4-H Alberta has seen in the past few years as an organization with continued improvements, including some discussions about what the regions are finding success in. In the last year, we have had much to celebrate. Lorraine Parkinson's induction into the 4-H Alberta Hall of Fame as a recipient for 2021, and the announcement of Rhonda Clark Gauthier and Christine Patton as the 2023 recipients. In October, Vanessa Hadwin was named the 2024 Premier's Award recipient, along with numerous ambassadors across Alberta. Another celebration was in March when Kurt Kinnear, Saida Karam, Sophia Kugland, her family, and I were able to tour the Alberta legislature and meet with the Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation on the many great things happening in 4-H Alberta. These celebrations are vital to recognizing the many people who continue to contribute to 4-H Alberta's success. The 4-H Alberta Foundation Chair, Patty Bruin, continues to work closely with me in the oversight and communication of 4-H Alberta's business. The foundation also works with 4-H Alberta CEO, Kurt Kinnear, to carry out the responsibility of managing the organization's assets. The approval of this organization as a registered charity is nearing completion, and I look forward to continuing to work with Patty in the coming year. So an update since I wrote this report is that the foundation was approved as a registered charity. So that organization will begin having their annual business in the near future. The board has endeavored to update the strategic plan for 2024 through 2026. I look forward to presenting it today for all present, and we have also posted it on the 4-H Alberta website. As we reflect on another year as one organization, the board remains committed to responsible stewardship of 4-H Alberta. We owe a lot of the organization's success to the leaders, volunteers, and youth who are the driving force. We appreciate the significant contributions that so many make to 4-H Alberta, and thank you for your endless efforts. The staff team, led by Kurt Kinnear as CEO, also deserves great thanks for the excellent programs and support that they provide. If you have any questions or concerns about the stewardship that the board provides, I encourage you to reach out to your area director or myself. We are here to work towards a better 4-H for Alberta. Thank you for all you do to make this program so good. Are there any questions on my report?
Okay,
All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Kurt to provide the annual report.
okay. Thank you again, and thank you everyone for attending. I feel like I say these often because we do our scoop updates very frequently now. We also do our town halls. So I was trying to be short but not redundant, or not too redundant from all of the other presentations. So we operate all of 4-H based on the strategic priorities. So everything's related to growth, business excellence, innovation, and legacy. And growth was the key focus when I was hired. That's my background. I've grown a lot of programs in my past, and I was asked to get 4-H growing. And the importance of that is the future of 4-H, actually, because if you look across Canada and you look across Alberta, membership has been on a slow decline for over 2 decades. And my first goal was to figure out how we try and level that out, because otherwise it doesn't matter what we do. If we have less members, eventually that leads to a dead end path for 4-H. So I am pleased to say that this year is our 2nd year of membership growth, and that doesn't include our intro program, which also had a bunch of new people into 4-H. I don't actually, at this point, until we figure out volunteer workload and some of the other things, I don't suspect it'll grow much more at this point. But overall 4-H is doing quite well. And we are now by a long shot the largest province in Canada. Ontario used to be quite a bit larger than us, but we're actually a lot larger than Ontario now. And it's actually not something I'm overly proud of. It would be nice to be proud of it if we grew past them, but it went actually the opposite way. So we retained our membership during COVID, and we've retained and grown since COVID. And that hasn't happened across all the other provinces. So that's one of my big focuses, and I'm happy to say that it's at least leveled out, and I think we've got to get innovative and we've got to get creative to get to the next phase where we start to really grow this program. Conflict resolution. This is not only 4-H Alberta, but some of the other regional or some of the other provincial leaders say they spend 80% of their time in conflict. I spend like 50 to 60% of my time dealing with conflict. So it's a significant issue. And there was actually, I just read the report from our volunteer workload, and it's also a very significant issue for a lot of the community. So we're going to continue to strive to figure that one out. Sherry's been our lead for conflict, and I wouldn't say we've done everything perfect, but we've definitely addressed issues that have been going on in 4-H for decades. And usually that things get worse before they get better when you're dealing with issues that haven't been dealt with for a long time. So it's a bit of a shock period there when you start to say, we got to get this turned around. So I'm happy to say we've addressed a lot of them and we continue to. And we're gonna continue to refine that process this year. Transparency and communication, when I started, I heard a lot about people kind of feeling like they didn't know what was going on in 4-H at all the different organizations. So when I know it, I share it through either the scoop, town halls, stakeholder meetings. And then we're also going to through our annual reporting as well. So and then legacy, I would say strong relationships with a lot of our partners and our agricultural roots. We can't forget those no matter what we do. And we continue to lean on those roots, and we have a very strong relationship with the Alberta government and a lot of our partners there. So these are the stats. They will be, if they haven't been shared, they will be posted as well. But we are up a few members. We're up Cleavers, or we're in good shape for Cleavers as well. We have a few less clubs, but larger clubs in 4-H. And the volunteer workload actually explains why that's happening. There's a lot of the workload, a lot of the people that volunteer for 4-H want to volunteer at club level. And then when they're asked to do more, as a lot of the regions understand this, it's a bit of a stretch. So we're gonna figure out how to address that and work with the regions and our districts to figure that out. We also, the thing that a lot of people don't know about 4-H is all the scholarships that we do. And we award a lot of scholarships out and pay those out to the community, and those are doing really well as well. And we continue to get donations. We actually just got a fairly large donation this week. I haven't told you yet. Yeah, anyways, I don't think I have. So we continue to get donations, but we got to keep our community knowing that we're forward thinking, and we can't just ask people to support 4-H because it's 4-H. We got to show that we're innovating and moving forward. So just quickly looking forward, the workload recommendation, that survey, we got a lot of feedback. There was focus groups and it validated the feedback. So even though the size of the segment wasn't really large, it like it was less than 10%. But when the community's saying the same thing as the survey's saying, and it's the same thing we're hearing from the regions, it's probably the issues that we need to address. So we're making, we just got the recommendations. We're gonna pick a couple of the most important ones that we think and then roll them out to the community for next year. Intro clubs, I know some people have heard a little bit about that, but that's been going quite well. Our financial assistance program, we've gotten a lot of really good feedback from that. We have new partnerships and a lot of irons in the fire for 4-H. I've met a lot of different people. They're very interested, but they're actually interested that we're an old nonprofit organization, like as in 4-H, but we're trying new things. That's what they are interested in. So that's what we continue to hear from our community. And then I was gonna invite you all to a debrief before the AGM, and then I thought that might just mix everybody up with the AGM, so I'll be sending invites out after, just to have a touch base, see how the year went, kind of debrief, pick a few things that we can improve for next year, just like we've done the last few years. We're also gonna meet with the committee chairs as well, because we haven't actually met with them, and I'd like to hear from them directly to see what's going on. And that is all. Is there any questions for me?
Okay, I have one thing that we've maybe forgotten is a highlight of our year is Carol to Catch from East Central won National Volunteer of the Year from 4-H Canada.
Yeah.
So we should be proud of that.
Yeah, it's really good. Well deserved too.
Yes, very much.
Okay, without that, we'll continue.
Okay, thank you, Kurt, for that update. Is there any comments online for Kurt? Just wanted to check before.
I might need glasses here.
Okay. Okay, so next on the agenda is the annual financial treasurer's report. I will now turn over proceedings to Janice Worstad, the audit and finance chair, as well as the treasurer. Please join me in welcoming Janice with Candace McKay, our contracted CFO from Baker Tilly Catalyst, to present a report on our finances.
All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Christine, and good morning, everybody. It's my honor to provide an update on behalf of the 4-H Alberta Board of Directors, as well as being chair of the 4-H Alberta Audit and Finance Committee. We're pleased to provide you with an overview of the 2023 year-end audit results as prepared by our auditor, that would be MNP LLP. Voting members would have received a complete package of the audited financials in their meeting packages. Before we dive into the reporting of the finances, I'd like to extend a thank you to our Audit and Finance Committee members, which would be Christine, who's chairing our meeting, Saida Karam, as well as Nora Polovich. Their due diligence and support in the organization's financial practices is greatly appreciated. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with this group. We've worked together to ensure best practices have been implemented, to ensure our dollars are invested into initiatives that provide direct value, and to ensure we are in compliance with our financial policies. I would also at this time like to thank our CEO, Kurt Kinnear, and our CFO, Candace McKay. They've been our leaders in maintaining our organization's high standards and delivering results with accountability, transparency, and integrity. So our committee's role is like the Audit and Finance Committee endorses best practices in transparency and diligence with our funds in all aspects of the organization. This level of transparency is always challenging to achieve, since there can sometimes be misinformation or misinterpretation of the information. So we have prepared a summary presentation, or Candace has, that you're going to see shortly, and we hope that it'll provide that transparency and clarity on the status of our finances. Committee goals. Our goals are to understand and provide oversight of accounting practices and to oversee the financial reporting process. We also oversee the internal audit function and ensure the high quality and integrity of internal accounting and control systems and processes. We select and provide oversight of the external auditor and ensure the auditor's independence. We regularly meet as a committee and we review financial statements and then provide that review and report of the financial statements to the board. And that's occurring at a minimum of every 2 months. We oversee all aspects of risk management and ensure continuity of operations, protection of assets, and adequacy of insurance coverage. And finally, we ensure that the CEO and CFO are in compliance with any statutory filings. The ultimate goal is to continue to provide the best possible value that meets the needs and expectations of our shareholders, our members, and operations. And our final, next slide. So overview of the audit. As approved at the AGM of 2027, of May 27, 2023, MNP was engaged to prepare an external audit of 4-H Alberta. And the auditor has worked closely with Candace to ensure all the requirements have been met. The audit fieldwork actually started in February with drafts, and the drafts started coming to us in April. We got a final draft issued in late April, and that's the primary reason why we're unable to move our AGM up any farther, is because of that time frame to make sure we get all of our year-end financials completed. They go to the auditor, and it takes them a couple of months to do the actual audit. I know that it does hit a lot of 4-H events happening this weekend, but we try to move it up as far as we can, but this is the date that we fall on. A materiality discussion was held with the Audit and Finance Committee. The committee had our auditor, MNP, set the materiality for this audit, and it's $160,000 was determined by MNP as the overall materiality amount. We've received the audit findings letter, which the committee has reviewed. The recommendations were brought forward to the board, and they were approved at our April 29th, 2024 board meeting. So at this time, I will turn the reporting over to Candace. I hope that she's able to join us.
I'm here.
And perfect. Candace is our contracted CFO from Baker Tilly Catalyst. So over to you, Candace.
Thanks, Janice. So we started working with 4-H Alberta essentially at its inception in August of 2020. We provide oversight for the CFO role. We also do the day-to-day accounting, and then specifically my role, I report to the board, audit and finance committee, and have oversight over all of the accounting and finance in the organization. So I'm going to do a summary of the financial statements, which were circulated by email and will be posted on the website pending approval at this meeting. So the first portion of the audit financial statements are the auditor's report. There is a qualified opinion, as there has been in every year prior. This is very common for not-for-profits. When our firm audits not-for-profits as well, we often have a qualified opinion. So there really are no concerns with the audit report or the findings, and the report is just posted right there. If we flip to the beginning of the balance sheet and look at the current assets, they're listed there with the 2023 amounts and the 2022 amounts as a comparative. So the unrestricted cash includes our operating account, sponsorship, and some other smaller accounts that are for specific purposes, but not restricted, such as something like the alumni account or when we had the magazine account. The accounts receivable for this fiscal year consist mostly of some sponsorship amounts that were billed prior to the year end, and then our ARMA recycling revenue that relates to 2023. Most of this has been collected subsequent to the year end. Was there a question?
No, there's
Okay.
the museum.
Okay, sorry. The prepaid expenses is just the insurance that we pay to 4-H Canada. That was paid in advance of 2024, so that has been accrued as a prepaid. And then obviously the inventory is the items that are in the 4-H Center store. If we look at the long-term assets, all of the capital assets are essentially the ones that are at the 4-H Center. So that's buildings, equipment, computers, those things. The purchases for this year totaled $53,270. And those were mostly for the outdoor kitchen. And there were a small number of computer replacements. I think there was maybe 2 or 3. In our long-term assets also is our restricted cash. So these are accounts that are internally restricted that have a very specific purpose and are used for very specific disbursements. So that's our program scholarship, our gaming or casino account, the Hanson Nest Scholarship, Norma Jean Gray Scholarship, Healy Scholarship, and the Radiff Legacy Fund. If we go down to the liabilities section, in the current liabilities, we have our credit card account, which is what is that bank indebtedness. So that's the balance on the corporate credit cards at the end of December. There are some accounts payable at the end of each year. They're generally fairly stable in 4-H. The significant ones are the audit accrual, so that's $52,000 for the 2023 work. And then also vacation payable, which is any vacation that employees have accrued and not used yet. The remaining balance of, call it $30,000 or so is just regular trade payables, things like utilities, phone bills, etc. Deferred revenue is detailed in the note 8 on the financial statements. Approximately over $1 million of dollars of that is in grants and in sponsorship revenue. Sponsorship revenue is recognized when there are expenses to then apply against that revenue. So anything that hasn't been used by the end of the year or relates to 2024 year is accrued in that account. And then finally, the deposits of $5,000 is just deposits in advance of 4-H center rentals. So for events that are happening in 2024. If we go down to the statement of operations, the revenue highlights, so obviously the first line there, the grants revenue, $1 million of that is the Government of Alberta grant, and then there were some other smaller grants during the year. Sponsorship receipts are slightly less than 2022. However, we do have almost $200,000 of those receipts that are deferred at the end of 2023. So as far as what has been collected during the year is actually more than what we collected in the prior year. Continuing with the total revenue, there is, if you look at the program and membership fees, there's a significant difference between 2022 and 2023. In preparing the 2023 financial statements, it was discovered that there was about $104,000 of 23 revenue that was actually recognized in the 2022 audited statements. So the 2022 number is actually overstated by about $104,000, and the 2023 number is understated. So there's a little table there that shows what it would be if it was corrected. Between the Audit and Finance Committee and the auditor, it was determined that there would be no prior year adjustment. So those numbers stayed uncorrected and unadjusted. Program revenue was slightly down for 2023. There were some large programs that did not run, notably the Club Week and the members trip, which was canceled for weather. Some others had lower involvement, such as some of the camps. All of those so far, I mean, pending weather for the members trip this year, but all of those so far have really good enrollment for 2024. And interest revenue was higher in 2023 as a result of higher cash balances. The casino revenue for 2022 was $0. That's because we have a casino every other year. And the 4-H center revenue is slightly down. The way that internal programs are billed out of the 4-H center this year, in 2023, was that programs just essentially covered the cost of the operation for the 4-H center for those 2 months. In previous years, a more fair market value charge was made to programs that was on a per head basis. So there's less revenue in the 4-H center, but also less expense in the program expenses. And moving on to the expenses, there was a small increase to salaries and benefits this year because of increased operations and cost of living adjustments. As we all know, there was significant inflation through 2023. The consulting, professional, and legal is up slightly. In 2023, the HR function was outsourced, so that role is included in the consulting, professional, and legal line. And then, as I mentioned prior, the program expenses follow not only the decreased revenue that we saw on the revenue side, but also a reduced cost for the 4-H center use. If we go down to the very bottom of the statement of operations, the excess of revenue over expenses was just $22,000. So essentially, the statement of operations is balanced, which does correspond directly to the operations budget, which was also a balanced budget. When we look at the other items, which essentially are the investment activity, there still was a small loss in fair market value over 2023. However, the fair market value of the investment still exceeds the book value, which is essentially what was put into the investments to begin with. During this year, during 2023, some of the investment portfolios that were previously invested in securities and mutual funds were then moved to GIC and high interest investments. So when those securities were sold, you'll see that there's a $952,000 gain on the disposal from selling those mutual funds and securities and moving into GIC. If we look at the changes in net asset and the cash flow, there was an increase in net assets of $566,000 for the year. The changes in net assets has different columns for each of the different funds. And then the cash flow generated strictly from operations for the current year was $389,000, and cash flow overall for the year was positive. If you feel so inclined to read the notes to the financial statements, they're outlined as follows. So notes 1 and 2 describe essentially how the organization uses accounting policies. Notes 3 to 8 provide information on the balance sheet items, and notes 9 and 10 provide information on other events outside of the financial statements that occurred during the year. I think I have one more slide, Kurt. Yes. So the ATB investments, ATB Wealth manages in the investment portfolio for 4-H Alberta. They send monthly statements to 4-H Alberta with all of the transactions and the updated fair market value. These are then flowed into annual scholarship reports that disclose the rate of return for each of the different scholarship funds. So at December 31st, 2023, the book value of all investments was $7.62 million, and the fair market value was slightly more than that, $7.7 million. And at this time, I would take any questions.
This is Kathleen Peltzer from the South Region. I just have a quick question about the breakdown on the revenue for the scholarship. Is there a column within that general ledger account that actually breaks out the maintenance fee? I'm just curious as to what the revenue is for the scholarships bringing in for the maintenance fee.
There is, if you give me 2 minutes, I can probably pull that up. Yeah. So that year over year, so 2022, it was actually waived because the rate of return on the investments was quite minimal. Sorry, I'm just going to have to log in again because it kicked me out. And it does fluctuate, as you know, it is a function of the rate of return on the scholarship. So when there is minimal or no return, there's really no expense recovery fee. And then when there is a return, that number will move. Just give me 2 minutes. Are there any other questions in the meantime? No questions?
So.
No questions here, Candace.
No questions? Okay. I'm just getting into QuickBooks, so I'll be 2 more minutes.
Thank you, Candace, for answering this question. This is Kathleen again. I just know that there's been quite a conversation about the maintenance fee. So I just thought clarity and transparency is always just the easiest.
Totally
answers.
agree. Yeah. And I mean,
Thank
just to kind of highlight the process for how those how the scholarships are administered. Our team, along with the senior leadership team at 4-H, we actually meet weekly with respect to sponsorship and scholarship. All of the scholarship, like the invoicing for annual scholarships, all of the administration as far as deposits, and reporting happens between Mike and the SLT, like the senior leadership team. We compile the reports usually starting in November. There is a flurry of activity. I think there was 300 and something T4A slips that were administered last year from our team to the scholarship recipients. So it's quite an undertaking, especially on the payment side, to have all of those scholarships paid out. So it is the SLT team in 4-H is exceptional, I would say, in being able to manage that whole process and make sure that everybody gets paid kind of in the fall for their scholarships. So from the annual scholarships, so the ones that are administered basically once a year, there was $2,800, excuse me, $2,800 that was collected. And then I just got to grab the ones from the endowments, if you give me a minute for that. I can probably pop that in the chat too if we want to keep moving, if that's okay.
Yeah, is that okay, Kathleen?
That's 100% okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. Thank you, Janice and Candace, for your information on the treasurer's report on the audited financial statements. I think we can go to a motion for the, I guess, one last question for, call for questions before we move on. Okay, and I have a motion to accept the audited financials.
I, Janice Wursta, would move that the audited financial statements for 4-H Alberta for 2023 be accepted as presented by Candace.
I, Nora Pavlovich, will second that motion.
Any further discussion on the financials? Okay, we'll go to a vote.
I'm gonna be like, that's bad.
But I feel big.
Trumpet when you get.
We can put our ring on.
Hurry, I have to go to the bathroom.
I'm just thinking these.
Were you? Intermission.
It's better in the hallway.
Just to Catherine's question there's usually a statement that comes out in January or February for 4-H Alberta explaining all of the maintenance funds and everything like that and what your particular region has. I think it was January when it came up. And it's usually directed to the executive for each region and then they pass it on.
Yeah, the end of January, we always get it, January 30th.
And it does break it down, and if I remember right, this year,
Yeah.
it was actually, they kept it a little bit lower because they didn't return as well.
Yeah, it's really reasonable.
Exactly.
And while you're waiting for votes, like our team has looked at the cost of doing all these scholarships, and it's definitely doesn't cover the cost of the work being done for those. But we're gonna continue to do that, like, when 4-H Alberta was formed. 4 years ago, we looked at all the fees and adjusted down that scholarship fee and then retroactively adjusted it, so we took its big steps to make that as low as possible. But it doesn't come close to covering the cost of doing 300 scholarships every year.
Oh, shoot.
You say no.
Yeah, so, darn.
And if you want any updates to those reports, just let Bianca or I know. We worked pretty hard on trying to make it as clear as possible. It's pretty vague when it's started. Okay.
Oh, really?
That's really racing.
They're close, they could go get
Get
you.
forward, Andy. Trying to have a meeting.
Mine says the voting time is full.
Oh,
Voting time was closed.
Yeah, my third ability to vote came in and voting time is closed.
I go to 1 o'clock.
Yeah, no, I think.
Yeah,
someone said 3 years in a row.
that's weird.
Okay, no, Chris has said something similar, so I'll give you actually.
So, first I looked over 22, that's like 22 and like 21 votes. Okay, so some of the votes are.
And they're in attendance fund.
Yeah, that's fine, just wanted to make sure there was.
Earlier.
Okay, so that motion is carried, but we're just going to have a short intermission here in person. Sorry. Yeah.
It was like, yes, one day, one like, and when you live, so your screen is.
That's your gift. for coming in person.
Well, That was my bad.
Our next item on the agenda is the appointment of the 2024 auditor. Janice, could I have you make the motion?
Sure. On behalf of the 4-H Alberta Board of Directors, I move that 4-H Alberta appoint MNP LLP as the organization's auditor for 2024.
I'll second that, Chris Patton.
Excellent. Any further discussion on that item? Oh, and now we get to vote again.
Yeah.
Could have done this one.
Katie, please set up a vote if you.
Okay.
So while we're voting or waiting for votes, I mean, is this e-vote, is that a subscription that the board of directors has?
This is a
Or is
one-time
it
service.
anywhere or?
You just pay per vote, basically. And I think it's the same one we used last year too, so, but
I'm thinking this would be wonderful for regional meetings that are done over Zoom.
yeah.
In terms of the prevention subscription we could have.
Oh, yeah, it's so many dollars per vote, and it's pretty
How
simple.
many, so many.
I think it's like 10 or 20 bucks or something, like, I can't remember, it was.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Per
Per motion, like. Like all the votes, not per vote.
Yeah.
If there was that much, I would recall it. I think Candace would be talking. Yeah. No, I think it's per.
So is there a service like this that's?
Yeah,
subscription?
we could share it. I'm surprised you're interested after it hasn't really worked that well today.
Well, we have other museums that we have meetings in. Just with all Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Sometimes if your internet's fast enough, you can do survey polls from survey.
Yes,
Monkey, and
yeah,
they're
that
fast
works
enough,
too,
and
yeah.
if someone's doing as a motion's made and it's fairly fast.
And even Zoom has that feature that she has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a poll.
But it's in the.
No.
Resolve their own.
There's a lot of getting.
Archive somewhere.
It's done properly, yeah. I think that's why we use that, not the other. I sat on the board for community center, we just used the
He
polls.
said the session has ended before I could vote. There are my 2 votes, so if you're missing 2 votes.
Yeah, we are.
That's me,
We're
that's
good.
me.
It's good.
So I vote.
Okay,
As soon as I went in, it said it had ended.
We're good.
We're good. Okay.
Okay.
our next order of business is our bylaw review. As distributed in your packages, so we do an annual review of the bylaws. And it was noted this year that there are some amendments to be made. I will now turn it over to Scott Bodie, our governance chair, to explain further.
Thanks, Christine. Good morning, everyone. As Christine mentioned, the Governance and Nominating Committee each year undertakes a review of the bylaws. Just by way of a bit of background, the bylaws were created and adopted in, I think it was 2020 when the organization was created. They form a really good basis, we think, for the organization. But we do consider the bylaws to be a living document and something that should be reviewed and changed as the organization changes and as we become more familiar with the processes that need to be followed and with the bylaws themselves and some of the learnings that we gain through working with them. So this year we did, as we have in the past, as I said, undertook a review of the bylaws. And as a result of that review, our committee recommended a number of changes. You can see those changes in the black line bylaws that were distributed with your materials for the meeting. Any changes that we're proposing are indicated in this document with the black line underneath them, so you can see them if you like. We always kind of laugh in the committee because every time we read these bylaws, we do catch a few what I would call nits, spelling errors or missed cross references, etc. And this year was no different. We did catch a few of those sorts of things. So there are a few of those little changes in the changes that are recommended. But there are also 4 more substantive changes. When I say substantive, they're not major changes, but they are a little more consequential than the nit ones. And I just thought I'd highlight those for you this morning. So the first change that we're recommending is to section 5.04. And the reason for this change comes out of a situation that we had this year where the board at its last annual general meeting or the meeting following that elected a chair and a vice chair to a 2-year term that would extend beyond their natural terms as directors. And so our committee struggled with that a little bit this year about what to do. Would it be necessary for them to stand for election, notwithstanding that they were fulfilling this important executive role for a 2-year term? And we decided that, for purposes of proper succession planning, that it made sense to make a change to the bylaws so that we wouldn't face that situation again. So the change that we're recommending to section 5.4 would be to clarify that if either or both the chair or the vice chair are eligible for re-election for a second term during their tenure as chair or vice chair, they will not be required to go through the election process and will automatically be renewed. So that's the first change. And if there's questions as we go through these, it won't be long, but if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. The second change was just more of a clarification more than anything else. It's to section 6.09 of the bylaws. And that would be that it's no longer required that the governance and nominating committee include one representative of 4-H Alberta Foundation or Alberta 4-H Foundation. That was put in at the beginning when we started, and we didn't think it was necessary to mandate that anymore. So we're recommending that requirement be removed. The third change that we're recommending is to section 7.02. And the amendment that's being recommended is that the person who serves as the vice chair of the board, right now it's an automatic promotion, I guess, from vice chair to chair. And we're recommending that the change we made to the bylaws so that it will read that the vice chair may become the chair of the board if elected, but it would no longer be an automatic ascension. And then the last change would be to section 7.02C. And this is really just more of a clarification more than anything else, but once someone completes their term as chair under the bylaws, they then become the past chair. And this change would just make it clear that the person that becomes the past chair will be an ex officio member of the board, meaning that they can attend board meetings, impart their wisdom from their experience to the board and participate in board meetings, but would not be a voting member of the board. So those are the 4 recommended changes. Are there any questions that anybody had that they'd like us to address?
Scott, it's Jocelyn Taranchuk here. I just have one. Can you clarify just the first change a little more? I understand, yeah, if their term is not up as president to stay on, but then the part about they're not re-elected, exactly what are we doing there?
It's really just more of an extension of their term as directors, I guess. So they will continue to be on for a second term, essentially, without further election.
Okay, but what happens if they've already done, let's say, their 2 terms as a board of director or whatever?
Yes, this only applies, sorry, maybe I should clarify that, but this only applies if they're in their first term. So if they're elected to the executive position during their first term, they will not have to stand for election for their second term, is the way that it would not apply if they're in their second term.
Okay, and will it affect the rotation schedule of elections potentially for our board members?
Potentially it would. Yeah, we sort of took care of that this year by making the chair's term, in this case Christine's term, to be I think she's actually just extended for a 1 year, so that we keep some rotation in the proper order. But that would be, the bylaws don't mandate that, so it would be, you know, up to each board, I guess, to decide how they wanted to handle that if that came up again.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other?
So, I was gonna say, if there's no, so are there any more questions? If not, I'd ask for a motion that we approve the amended 4-H bylaws as presented.
We have one question here,
Oh,
Scott.
sorry. Okay.
So pertaining to the point 1, what you're basically saying is that they don't have to go through the vetting process and all that other stuff because they've already done that in their first term. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion for those?
Actually, I have one more question.
Sure.
At last year's AGM, there was a suggestion made to change the motion on how directors were selected out of the regions.
Yeah.
And we were told as regional chairs and everything that that couldn't be done at that meeting, but it would be looked at throughout this year. Has that been looked at?
We have talked about it in a short order. We haven't done a thorough discussion. It's something that we're hoping to have this fall in September as a board. And then hopefully be prepared for the regional gathering again. I had missed that we had that full discussion, like promise in the last AGM, and was my bad as a new board chair that I had missed it. So it's something that's on our radar for sure. It's a very robust conversation that we need to all come to the table and be willing to say, how can this be better? There's many ways that we can make it work. And I think that that's a priority as a board this year.
This is Kathleen Belzer from the South on Zoom again. I just have a question about the president or the chair's position and the vice chair's position. I understood, Scott, you said that you now have them staggered. So as you're going into your electoral processes, your chair potentially could be in their final term of their due diligence in their position, but the vice chair may not be expired yet. So hopefully that will help the voting members of the regions be able to select their own people to represent, as you won't have two positions filled at one particular time, and there would be no option to bring somebody new onto the board. I'm hoping that's the way I'm understanding that.
Yeah, I think that you know how it plays out depending on who faces or who the chair and the vice chair are. Like I think both Christine and Syed are both diversity directors, I believe. So it just depends on who they are at the time they come up. But you're right. If we had regional members that are fill those positions, that may very well play into what you're saying, Kathleen.
Okay, thank you. Because just at the Eastern Irrigation District down here, when a president is in term, they do have the option to then be extended for 1 year, but not another complete 3-year term. So that would be my only, not really objection, but concern to that, that you in 1 year could not have the vice president step up into that chair position and not cover that term for an additional 3 years.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what the board recommended or voted for, I guess, in the case of the chair this year for her extension. We haven't mandated that in the bylaws, but that's something that, you know, for next year's annual review, might be something that we consider.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Jocelyn, I see you're unmuted. Do you have another question? Okay.
No, it's just the way the button is. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Anyone else in person? Questions? Hey. Did we have somebody volunteer to make this motion? Scott was. Scott did? Okay. Can we have a seconder?
Austin will second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, and now we will go to a vote.
Hey Scott, while we wait for the vote, are those books behind you real?
They are real, yes. I haven't read every one of them yet, but going through.
Is that your reading as a judge now? You just have to read every book there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I get it. That must be why it's closing before I get to it.
Yeah, I just asked them to leave it at least 5 minutes, so I paid attention to the time. We'll see if that's enough. Everybody.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna hurry.
It's because you have two there.
Yeah.
I do have two.
Yeah.
Okay, it goes fast if you just get.
Okay.
How many more votes we got? Two. Two more. And from the end.
I think three.
Three, yeah.
Yep. What's it open?
That's all that is.
Okay, we have one, so we don't have to do that.
Yes, you're ready.
She our table away there. So I'll be sitting just in the laps.
Who's that?
What's that? How do you know that? No, says it down, says it down. Right now. No, it shows up on your Google.
No, I would. No, I'm voted.
Oh.
But then we're just waiting for the.
But the results.
for the-
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
crowd.
Jack's getting lost.
So with the carcass, you wonder if,
Ron's faster than mine.
Want to be Okay, so the motion is carried. And amended, the bylaws are approved, so thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah.
And Scott, back to you for the nominations report and new board of directors.
Okay, yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for approving that last motion. Next up for me then is to present the slate of new directors for your consideration and vote. Just wanted to say a couple words about our goals and processes that we follow in developing this slate to bring before you today. As a committee, in terms of one of our jobs is the recruitment and vetting of new candidates for election to the board of directors, and then to bring that slate that we develop before you for consideration. In looking at people to fill these positions, we have a number of goals. One is that we're looking to have a broad representation of key stakeholders, including individual community members and our stakeholder organizations. We want to attract the best leaders that we can to lead this type of an organization. We try to select members that, to the best that we can, that have certain talents that we're looking for as board members to make our board both diverse and as useful as possible to the community that we serve. And so, you know, we try to have people with legal expertise on the board, people with accounting expertise, people with communications expertise, and of course, expertise in youth development and youth programming as well, among other things. So we try to have as much representation in terms of skills on the board. And so we have a skills matrix that we look at when we're recruiting and when we're making recommendations for a slate. And we also try to ensure that we have good grassroots and youth representation on our board as well. So for this year, just in terms of process, we had 3 positions that we needed to fill. We had 1 diversity director. We had 1 area director from the South Calgary region. And we also had the youth director position that we wanted to fill this year. So our slate covers each of those 3 positions. We try to follow a transparent but confidential process in the way that we conduct our interviews. We had very good take up, I thought, this year in terms of the applications that we received. We received a number of very good applications for the positions that we had to fill, and it made it a very tough decision in some cases to put this slate before you today. So I'll present that slate now. Our committee did present it to the board at its last meeting on May 9th of this year. And we had a number of good questions in consideration, but the board approved us putting this slate before you today, so I'd like to do that now. So we have 3 candidates. The first is Arlene Good. She's been put forward as the nominee for the area director of Calgary South. Many of you may be familiar with Arlene. She's a lifelong enthusiast of agriculture and has been involved in 4-H over many years in many leadership positions. And we are very excited at the prospect of Arlene being able to join our board to represent the Calgary South region area. The next candidate is Wesley Novotny, who's being put forward as the diversity director. Wes fulfills the skills requirement of deep and excellent legal expertise. He's a member of the tax department of Bennett Jones in Calgary, which is a national law firm. He has a very busy corporate and tax practice there, where he is both a planner and also does a lot of representation work with disputes with the CRA. Wes himself is been involved in agriculture all his life. He is from southern Manitoba, where he grew up on a farm. Still has deep roots in the farming community in which he grew up, and incorporates that expertise in his professional practice as he gives great legal advice to many farmers throughout Alberta in how to plan their succession. And the third candidate is Grace Tabler, who some of you also may be familiar with. Grace is being put forward as the youth representative for the board. Grace grew up on a farm south of Edmonton and has been a 4-H member for at least 11 years in the West Central region. She has won scholarships. She's been an ambassador. She would just be a great addition to the board. She is currently a student at the University of Alberta, where she is in the Department of Pharmacology. And she also represents the Faculty Student Association, where she serves as a student representative. So that is the slate that the board is putting before you for consideration and election today. Are there any questions or anything else anybody wants to raise at this point? If not, I'm pleased to make a motion to approve this slate of nominees at today's AGM.
Okay, and can we have a seconder for that?
Kathleen Linder, I'll second that.
Sounds good, thank you, Kathleen. Any further discussion? Okay, with that, we'll go to a vote.
You haven't got it?
I have to just look my hand. I vote 2 times.
Okay.
They're good picks. Especially Grace. Yes, she is. Oh, I hate the hose.
Keep on tracking.
Not to bother you, but.
Okay, one down.
We have to, very shortly, as you can see.
I'm trying to hurry.
Do you wanna, me to set up more? I'm on 5%, it's going my grade, Guess it'd be absolutely. Well, if nobody leaves, we should. Okay. That was not sweet. Chris is leaving, right?
I'm done.
Oh.
Yeah, I do have to leave soon. Yeah. Are we done with the week?
2 more.
2 more? Okay. I can do that.
We have to do a vote for adjournment as well. Oh, didn't realize it. Oh, okay.
I think we know how everybody's gonna vote.
Yeah. I know, I will probably be consensus.
I'm laughing, that's the one that fails.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get them out. Sustain.
No, that's not really good.
It might come to the peace reading.
Oh, that's nice. I've got to go on a strategic price. As long as it's. So you know what there's. Okay, we ready to go?
You're ready to chicken.
I love that. I didn't want to know when it's quick.
If we had 20 people, we should just do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Just no.
No, there's a whole bunch of
It's mostly the shit. I don't know. There was some problems with those bases.
Here we go.
Christine, we got here.
Okay, you know how that works.
Yes.
Okay, I have to go, so what's,
Okay, so the Saida, the election results were
We're good, so.
that
All in
we
favor?
have 3 new directors, so thank you. Everyone. Congratulations to the new directors. I think we have 1 online, so. And then next we have another motion to destroy the electronic ballots. Somebody be willing to make that motion?
you go outside.
I, Paul Franz, move that we destroy the electronic ballots.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Can I have a seconder?
Marion Van Sluis will second that.
Fabulous, thank you, and please send the votes.
It should be.
I would have never heard the strategic plan. But
I think in the interest of time, we're going to, once we get the votes, we'll just submit them. And then keep rolling. So once you get the emails, let me know.
I'm gonna listen online as I'm driving,
Okay.
so I can hear the rest.
All right, so next slide then. Is that what you? Oh.
Everybody's looking at each other. Who is singing Jeopardy music, Andy? That could be a past chair.
Makes you think of Jeopardy.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
It was a good start.
If you get her singing, maybe you'll get her dancing next, so.
My toes are tapping, but it's like up the door.
You got yours?
No.
Good.
Yeah, I'm always last. Yes, there we go. Okay. Don't be timing me, maybe you'll be making me nervous.
Still, no problem. It's speaker phone, isn't it?
Yeah, wait, regional.
Continue. I didn't have to do 2, it'd be. Easier.
I don't think that's an impromptu word.
Okay, you guys quit making fun of me. Okay, I'm done.
You go.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry I have to go and listen to you on the radio, on the whatever. It's gonna be a little bit fast, don't tell anybody. It's not 4-H appropriate. Okay.
Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Pendergrass.
See you, yeah.
Hi, Chris. Hi. Okay. With that, we'll go. Press that the motion's been passed. We'll confirm shortly. All right. On to, we have a recognition and thanks to our retiring directors. So it's important for us to thank those who have worked very hard on the board of directors to help us work through various challenges and successes over the past years. So with that, we'd like to start with Scott Bodie. Scott joined later, 4-H later in his career as a lawyer out of Calgary. He became a diversity director at the first 4-H Alberta AGM in May 2021. Scott has been a valuable member of the board of directors ever since. He has served as the governance and nominating committee chair for the past 2 years and has been instrumental in updating our bylaws and nominating processes. Scott has most recently been appointed a judge to the Tax Court of Canada, and we congratulate him and wish him the very best in his new role. Amanda Hardman was a 4-H member for many years. Her longtime efforts as a 4-H member accumulated in her recognition of being the 2019 Premier's Award recipient. Since this award, Amanda communicated with many about her passion for 4-H and what this organization does for 4-H youth across Alberta. Since becoming the youth director on the board, Amanda has been the Strategic Growth Committee chair. There is a bright future for Amanda as a 4-H Alberta alumni, and we look forward to hearing what she does next. Andrea Hansen has dedicated many years of service to 4-H in Alberta. I believe Andrea has been a volunteer with 4-H Alberta for over 30 years. And she was also worked as a staff member with the Alberta government 4-H branch out of the Airdrie office. Since the creation of one 4-H Alberta organization, Andrea has served as the area director for Calgary and South regions since May of 2021. She served as the chair of the Community Engagement Committee for 2 years and consistently brings historical understanding to the board table. Andrea's longstanding passion for 4-H is so evident, and she continues to contribute to the organization. We are extremely grateful for the time she has contributed to the board of directors. Yes, Scott or Andrea, would you have any comments? As you don't have to, I didn't prepare.
Not for me. Thank you for those kind words, and thank you for the opportunity to serve the last couple of years. It's been a great experience for me. So thank you all.
Thank you,
And
Scott.
I would echo what Scott said. It's been an honor. 4-H is very near and dear to my heart. And actually, I'm sitting out in my car just waiting to go into the 4-H Balzac 4-H beef 90th anniversary this year. So I get to celebrate that with everybody. So thank you very much for believing in me enough to hopefully help make a little difference.
Thank you, Andrea. And I think Amanda had some family events today, but she definitely contributed very much to our board as well. So next up is, first I'd like to also make a special thank you. We couldn't have a Government of Alberta representative with us today, but as you all know, they provide an annual $1 million grant for 10. When that started, it was for 10 years. We greatly appreciate the support from the Government of Alberta and their commitment to 4-H. The grant money represents our hard-earned dollars being returned to us in the support of youth in our province, and we look forward to continuing to have a strong relationship with the Government of Alberta. And the next item is looking ahead. So I have a lot of notes, but in the interest of brevity, a couple highlights is we provided a summary in October regarding the volunteer workload survey. We will also be receiving a full report of all those who participated in focus groups on volunteer workload. That's another item for the fall gathering agenda, what the action items are that came out of that extensive work, and we look forward to hearing what we get to implement from that. As you all saw, we included in the AGM package our updated strategic plan as a board. There are relatively small updates to the previous plan, and these updates mainly focus on volunteer support and embracing diverse groups around Alberta as 4-H Alberta continues to evolve. We will use this plan as a framework for initiatives and planning in the next 2 years, and to help provide some direction to where we are going. As always, just a reminder that board members are here to provide, answer any questions you may have, and we're only a phone call or an email away. Our emails are available on the 4-H Alberta website. And I believe the next item is questions. As I stated previously, there is no submitted questions, so we'll have questions following the adjournment and the end of the live stream. So thank you everyone for attending in person today, especially as well as online. I know that it's a busy, very busy time of year, and I respect and understand that, especially. I know that volunteers are the backbone of this organization, and it's 4-H Alberta is a very special place that we get to develop youth and young leaders for the future. So with that, I would ask that we can have a motion to adjourn our 2024 AGM.
I'll make a motion.
April,
To adjourn the meeting at 12:38.
All right. And can I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Excited. Any discussion online? Before we fully adjourn, there should be a motion to roll out. We need to vote on the motion to adjourn, so don't go too far, too quickly.
Fast.
Yeah.
Slow everything down.
I made it. Made it really good. 100% and
How much do you have?
4%.
Better than 3.
Someone's having to be that little die anymore.
Well, I'm 4% left on.
Depends on which way they.
Yeah, the lot of us pretty hard. Yeah, leave it 4%, they'll find a way to, you know.
You have no percent, don't figure out the meetings.
They'll call you.
They'll say,
They know the line.
is it Neil or Bill?
Bill. We're pretty calm.
Nah, but anyways, it's sorry.
No, great.
Done, we're good, we're good.
Okay. With that, that motion has passed. And I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us today. We'll stop the live feed now, but we hope that this information has helped improve the understanding of 4-H Alberta, and I hope you have a great day.